Morning and welcome to Galactic Soul Healing. Today we are doing this spread, which is going to be about, overall, it's going to be about the next 12 to 24 months. Okay, now, previous spread we kind of did a 3D, 4D, 5D progression. Okay, Spirit's kind of guided me to say, let's look at the third dimension only today. Okay, but we're going, in terms of frequency, we're going to lower third dimensional frequency, mid third D frequencies, and upper third dimensional frequencies. Okay, now I like to sort of tailor these spreads in a way that's going to assist people, and because often the third D realm, which is to do with the material, okay, it's all about, it is a bit about making money and surviving financially and, being practical and dealing with the practical things, okay? So we're going to be, of course, that has to be incorporated. And even when we move up into the fourth and fifth dimensions, sometimes we still, often need to still just incorporate the third dimensional stuff anyway, okay? So I really kind of want these spreads to empower people and not to kind of get into that mindset of like, oh, if I do spiritual, that means I can't be practical, and we need to incorporate all of it, okay? Now, there's something a little bit different today with the cards. I'll just show you what we're using. There's a common thread here because I thought with the third dimension we're still going to be resonating with those earth energies, because we're still kind of grounded. We still want to be grounded, okay? And this is still useful for people that are, obviously resonating at fourth and fifth dimensional frequencies. They still need to ground, okay? And we're also going to be using these cards today, called Money and the Law of Attraction cards by Jess, Esther and Jerry Hicks. Okay. Now, they're all about, these cards are kind of about tapping into your heart space and your sense of freedom and joy and what it is that you love to do, and utilizing that to kind of, I guess, make a living or receive some financial exchange for providing that if you're assisting other people. So I think this spread might be really good because it's sort of, because we've had a lot of changes recently. I think this will be good because it will be a grounding, and we've got the spiritual kind of symbology with the animals. Okay, we've got this sort of spirit stuff happening, but we've also got perhaps a new way to look at money and to think about how you're going to be utilizing income. Now, the other exciting thing, which I kind of think Spirit's just really awesome the way they're helping me with this, I don't take full credit for this, okay? I guess it's good that my brain's here to be able to channel this, but essentially this is all kind of being guided, right? So what they're going to be trying to help us with is how we can utilize our bodies, so in other words, in our physical actions, to make money. So we might actually need to be figuring out new ways that we can either exchange our services for others, or that we can make money in new local ways, okay, if we can't do business and work in the way that we have been previously. And we might need to start thinking about having a few little income sources rather than one big one, okay? So they're kind of saying, let's look at what you can do physically, in other words, actions or things you can do for people, okay? And the feeling is going to be like tapping into your emotional aspect. So it's tapping into your heart space. What are you really passionate about, and what are you into? And sometimes that involves, tapping into your inner child and finding out what you're really into. And obviously utilizing that in practical ways as well, if that's something you would like to do, in order to perhaps have a little bit of income from that. The other thing is the thinking. So it's what can we do mentally and intellectually? How can we use our brains? because you might actually, for instance, and those two things can link in. Like, what you're passionate about is what you love to think about, and you can actually generate income from that as well. And the other thing, of course, is higher self. Now, all of these things tap into higher self, and that's the biggie, because that's the one that you're right into, you're really passionate about, and you really want to share with people. And there may be a way for you to actually receive a little bit of income from doing that. Right? So it's kind of about, I don't want it to be about making money as such, but it's really also about the little mindsets that we need to do in order to start tapping into these aspects of ourselves. But there is that added thing of, like, it can be a source of income, and that perhaps we need to think differently about income now. That maybe we need to have a few income streams. Like, it might be that, say, if you're really into art, you might be passionate about art, and you might actually just set up your studio at home, start doing some art, and you might sell a few pieces here and there, for instance. And I know that's easier said than done, but that's one little thing. Physically, you might go out and do some cleaning for a few people locally. Okay, you might get paid a bit of money for that. And thinking, say if you were previously an office worker, you might obviously just work from home and do some consulting or something like that. And your higher self, well, that might be another spiritual purpose that you might be, thinking about long term. That's the kind of thing that's like, oh, I've always wanted to do such and such, or I'm really passionate about such and such. And so, that the higher self thing, that might actually be meditation. So, for instance, you like, well, I really like just being calm and centered, and I think I could really help people with that. So I'm actually going to do a little online meditation course, and then I could actually run groups for meditation, and people can pay me a little bit of money to learn that skill, and I can hold space for people to be able to do that. Okay, that's an example of, say, a higher self income-driven possibility. Okay, now I'm not saying that if you do all of these you're going to get rich, and obviously there's lots of different platforms and different modalities and ways of doing things. Okay, you can do hands-on service, you can do consulting, you could do groups, you could do individual consults, you could do lots of online forums. You could do services by Skype, by Zoom, you can set up websites. A lot of these things are not huge expenses. Okay, now let's get to it. Okay, so the ones I'm using, we've got Scott Alexander King, Animal Dreaming, and Money and the Law of Attraction cards by Jerry and Esther Hicks. Okay, now I'm not sure if they're in print still, but they may well be. Okay, so as before, we're going to be doing the spreads that way. Now I'm having a lemon ginger tea today, this morning. I have already had a coffee. Too hard to give up, I'm afraid. Okay, there will come a day. I think I could probably cut back on a couple of coffees a week. Now, I'd just like you to, we're just going to kind of do our shuffle thing and our little prayer before we start. Okay. Right. So I'd just like to call upon now any galactic consciousnesses that would like to take part and guide us in this, to assist us with our physical, emotional, intellectual, creative and spiritual well-being, helping us to kind of really expand into the fullness of who we are, and to really develop an abundant mindset with that, so that we can also then experience more joy and connection with each other and with spirit. Okay, so I'd like to call upon the any archangels that would like to assist us. Would be really lovely. any ancestral guides, any ascended masters, and light beings, any light beings from any higher dimensional frequencies, such as the Arcturians, or the Syrians, Andromedans, Blue Avians, Vegans and Lyrans, and there may be others too that would like to assist in this reading, any assistance would be much appreciated. As I haven't done any this type of reading before with these cards, so I'd like to, if some assistance could be provided, that would be really lovely. And we also ask that any information that is imparted or received by viewers is done so for the good of all and for the good of themselves, and in alignment with the forces of light, and certainly in alignment with the unconditional love, light consciousness, and also within unity consciousness, as we understand that we are part of a galactic family now. Universal galactic reality is what we are stepping into, and we acknowledge that we need to find new ways of being and new ways of manifesting our newfound energies and our higher frequencies, and also learning to navigate those. So any support, assistance, suggestions, ideas, concepts, encouragement, comfort, any form of those would be really appreciated, and received gratefully, with much gratitude. There we go. So I'll just finish that up. Now we'll just break these once, twice, 3 times. Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, so we're going to spread these out now. Okay, so remember we're looking at the lower, it's all on the 3rd dimensional frequency today. So people that are resonating 3rd dimensional frequency, okay? So this is the lower 3rd realm frequency with regard to our body, physical being, our emotions. Okay, once these cards are down, I'm not going to be moving them, okay, until we turn them over. This is our mental, intellectual, and the 3rd lower our 3rd and the higher self energies, okay? And we're doing the mid 3rd dimensional frequency. So obviously there would be a numerical, in terms of frequency number, that, I don't know if there's calculations being done on that, but we're not aware specifically at this point. But I am aware that, you don't just jump from 3rd D to 4th D, bang. It's a gradual progression, okay? So this is why I've kind of been guided to do lower, middle, and upper 3rd D, okay? And obviously the next step on from the upper 3rd D would be the lower 4th dimension, which we will look at in another reading. But today it's just about the 3rd dimensional frequency, okay? So it's kind of pitched at people that feel that they're, they're inundated with financial issues. They're very rooted in their physicality, and they don't feel that, there's anything creative or spiritual about them. Although there's a whole spectrum there, isn't there? There's like people that are having snippets of it, and people that are, a bit more into it, and some that are not at all. So this is to do with encouragement, okay? Just because you're in a 3rd D and you feel like that you're completely overwhelmed and you feel like there's no way out, there is, okay? This is all to do with encouragement and being gentle and providing assistance, okay? So we've got bodily, emotions, mental, intellectual, and higher self. And then we have the same here for the upper third dimensional frequency. Okay, body, feeling, thinking, and see, thinking and intellectual, mental is all the same. Okay, it's how we cognitively process information. The feeling is more like the heart, what's happening with our emotions, and the higher self is, of course, that spiritual kind of connection. Now we don't need these. Okay. Now, the symbology for these cards is on the reverse, so I'm actually going to put them down like this, and they actually fit quite well on top of there too. So I'll just go through these quickly. And this is a bit of a new thing for me, because I haven't kind of used these attraction cards before, but I'm pretty keen and interested to kind of get some new symbology images happening. And I think it's particularly relevant to the 3D frequency, because we're all dealing with these issues of survival and how we get money to survive. Okay, now let's look at this first one here, which is the lower third dimensional frequency, what people are going to be doing. Okay, now it's either what people are in or hints of what we can do, okay, physically, or a little mind, or perhaps even just things to keep in mind that will help that thing. Okay, so now here we've got illumination. Okay, and now this one is called I can pivot from feeling bad to feeling good. Okay, now I think the message I'm getting here is that I'm really going to be melding these images together. Okay, because they're very symbolic. I'm not really going to go too much, unless I get confusion about what that is. I'm not going to be reading the explanation at the back, because basically, physically, on a physical level, on a 3D level, those images there, we don't worry about the words for now, although that is illumination. But even those images there, right? the cockatoo is actually, that colour is white, so it's purity, it's to do with spirit and goodness, okay, and positivity, love, light, consciousness, okay. That's a beautiful image, that one. And it's also very high consciousness, because it's a bird, okay, and it's literally getting ready to take flight. Now, see that there? That's like it's like radiating. Okay, and there's lots of those prongs there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you've got 9. It's almost like a bit of a barometer needle, isn't it? It's sort of like, you can move from that to that. It's almost like a thing. And this one here, is being able to pivot from feeling good to bad. So it's saying that if you can work towards really understanding how to change your state of consciousness, okay, I'm gathering that this images here are representing not feeling so good and feeling better, okay, and it's interesting that, see how that one is white and this one is white, so it's kind of saying in order to feel better, you may well need to start moving into a spiritual way of being to feel better in your body. Because if your body is not feeling good, because this is the physical one here, right, the physical, it's saying if you're in the lower third D and you feel like crap, the only way that you can shift that is to actually really try and tap into your mind and do some meditations, like jump on YouTube. I guess if you don't have that, you could go to a library and borrow a book on meditation. Okay, if you can somehow borrow meditation music from a library. I'm not quite sure what's happening in lockdown, but I imagine a lot of people would be jumping online now. If you're in lockdown, okay, jump online and really get onto the meditation and get right into spirituality. Okay, and also really try doing lots of little different activities around the home and really kind of just try and tune in to what's happening to you physically, because if you do something creative, okay, that might actually shift you into a different space. And it's also really lovely, this is part of body and embodiment, is to actually make something with your hands. Okay, so they're really talking here about if you feel like crap and you feel like there's no way out, there is. Okay, you really got to see that person there. It's very meditative, isn't it? And basically they're sort of saying that the illumination will come if you can step into spirit. And I'm also going to add in there creativity, because see these things here, that's like sort of saying, well, there's actually quite a different number of things that you could do. Another thing I'm going to suggest is colour and music, colour and sound. Okay, look at chakras. See, this is 9 here. Now, I know we have 7 main chakras, but there's also one right above our head and there's one below our feet. So that's literally could be referring to the 9 chakras. Okay, and that is like a key up there. Okay, if you can hook into your chakras, but even initially in a 3D, that could be a little bit, it's really, you've got to start turning into the spiritual. But you can do gentle chakra meditations. Okay, by that I mean don't spend a week on your sacral chakra. Okay, if you're starting out, just do one chakra on one day. You could do one the next, or have a break and then do the next chakra up. Okay, so this is pertaining to the body. So if you're feeling bad, or say if you have illness or whatever, and there's all different stages of illness too. I mean, obviously, it's really depends on where you're at with that. Okay, but this is a really strong suggestion, and I think that imagery is really nice. But there's definitely a link there. They're saying the link between, it's almost like transcendence. Like if you can do some, I don't know if the TM, transcendental meditation, is still around. I haven't experienced that, but any type of meditation that visualizes you've got the white light happening. See, that's definitely white light. White. Okay, any kind of healing, yoga. Maybe you try yoga online. Deep relaxation, where it's white light meditation. Okay, which is good for physical and helping you to feel good, and it actually clears your energetic field, so you will feel a little bit better in your body, because the mind and the body are so intricately linked, really. And energetically, our energy body is so linked into our physical as well, and our mental and emotional, everything. Okay, so if you can kind of get onto that, that's really helpful if you're in a 3D and you're dealing with a lot of stuff that's not making you feel good. Okay. Now, next for the lower 3D, we have the feelings. This is all going to be different, isn't it? Different ones. So, respect. Okay. And what's this one? It says, I want to harmonise with my desire. Okay. So, isn't that interesting? Because it's really sort of saying that in terms of feelings, you actually really need to respect your feelings, and whatever you wish or desire, okay, that's a heart thing. Your heart opens to certain things, activities, experiences, ways of being, and states of mind, states of consciousness. Okay, you really need to respect that desire and do something that is in line with it, making that become a reality for you. Even if it's only half an hour every third or fourth day, okay, you really need to respect that your feelings are valid, okay, and that that, see that little spiral there? That image is quite pretty. There's a spiral coming from the heart space here. And see how it's sort of like, the heart wants to kind of take flight. And there's that little white, that's literally almost like a white dove. Again, we just had the white thing, okay? And the arms are up in a circle. It's very symbolic, okay? It's like a whole soul kind of feeling. So it's definitely coming from a heart space. I want to harmonise with my desires. So it's saying, you need to acknowledge and respect that that is okay to do. But the other thing, isn't that interesting? We have bird again, higher consciousness, bird, looking here, bird, higher consciousness, looking straight at it. Okay. The other thing about this one is it's a flightless bird, right? But it has that beautiful balance of strong legs. It's on the ground, okay, and it has the higher consciousness, okay, and this is the thing here. It's also saying that you can still be very grounded in order to, well, it's good to actually be really grounded when you're activating this, your heart desire, okay, but please respect that about yourself. Okay, that's the hint to 3D. Lower 3D is like, you know, if you're really your heart is really somewhere and you kind of keep repressing it or ignoring it, it's not going to help you. I get that people have schedules like through the roof in terms of busyness, but like I said, even if you can find half an hour a week to just kind of respect that little passion or that little heart's desire that you have. Okay. And that could be any number of different things, couldn't it? So I'll leave that at that one. But that's the feelings, and that's really lovely, because I think, you know, it is hard to respect our feelings sometimes, because we do have to deal with other people kind of having their sixpence worth and telling us, trying to influence us in ways of, well, that's not useful, that's a waste of time, or what are you doing that for, or whatever. But the trick is here, is what you need to respect is this, above everything else. You know, it's about not listening to what other people around you are telling you what you can and can't do. It's listening to yourself, and obviously within reason, you know. I mean, if your heart's desire is to have $1 million mansion and a Lamborghini, well, you can respect that desire, sure. And what you could do is you could actually do a lot of visioning and meditation on that. Meditate on the feeling that would give you. Okay, what you would be doing with that, and all that sort of stuff. Because that might actually be your feel-good thing, and that might, take your consciousness into a different space where you might be able to go, well, you know what? If I fully feel that I deserve that and I'm entitled to it, then I'm going to make efforts to make that my reality. All right? But, it's funny because, it can be, sometimes the material is a direct reflection of kind of where you're at within yourself. Because if you don't feel that you deserve money deep down, right, you're never going to make money. You have to really feel that you're worth that. And this is what abundance is about, okay? Okay, and this is what I'm hoping to get us to think differently about abundance. What Spirit's kind of guiding me to do is to kind of get us to think it's not just about doing A and B and getting money. It's about tapping into the wholeness and the richness of our soul and really activating that, okay, and sharing that. Because we actually, a lot of us have talents and gifts that we're not aware of, that we're not using, and we're not sharing them because we're repressing them. Okay, now this is the thinking aspect, so the mental capacity of the lower 3D. Okay, now this is interesting. It's actually got dance there, but we're going to mix it with this one. Let's have a look. It says, what do I want and why do I want it? Okay, so that is almost saying, like, mentally, there's a bit of a dance going on. It's really also working out why, the big why, okay? So, and obviously this has implications in terms of direction and focus and meaning. So, for instance, if you just went, well, I want to go do such and such because it'll get me a lot of money, but your heart's not really invested in it, you know, you might do some experimentation, but then you might sort of do a fallback and go, well, actually, I'm going to go towards that, but now I'm going to come back now, you know, like it's literally a physical dance, and sometimes this is what it's like, a metaphorical dance in terms of with income, trying different things over the years, and, you know, what's happy, what job or thing do I provide or share for people that gives me meaning, along with some money as well. So this is working out what you want and why you want it. And why do I want it? Okay. So it's kind of trying to suggest, I believe, that, see here they have this two, it's almost like this is in the physical and this is in the spiritual. And it's kind of like saying, you know, both of these realms have something to offer. Okay, and look at that eye there. Is that almost like the sixth sense? Because it's not the eyes of these here, is it? I mean, it could be the same eye that's just been projected up there, but isn't that interesting? It's almost like that black and white as representing of yin yang and balance. So it's kind of saying that, you know, we need to be practical with the material aspect of what we're doing. But why are we doing it? You know, is it just a purely spiritual reason? But I think they're sort of suggesting that if you can bring a bit of balance into it, like there's some sort of spiritual reason as to why you're doing that particular service or providing that particular product or whatever it is, that you know, that could actually be better in the long run. Because if it, and this is a really nice segue into the next one, which is higher self, because if you can find some sort of spiritual or soul purpose that's kind of either related to or directly associated with what you're offering people in exchange for money, it means you're going to get more fulfillment. And it means that you will be more passionate about it, and you will feel better overall because you'll be offering something that triggers something deep inside you. Okay, rather than just going, I'm just doing that for money. And then, you know, a few weeks later you go, I just feel like I'm going through the motions. This is not really my thing. You know, and a lot of people get to that. You know, a lot of people do 20 or 30 years in a job and not really feeling that that they're activating their whole soul in a depth, in enough way. I mean, this is the new way of working, is that we're going to have to activate our whole soul to help us direct us into what we need to do to obtain income, if that is possible. I believe it is. It's really just, and this refers to a card we did yesterday, it's really just about being clever with and resourceful, okay, and learning how to join the dots and make the links, okay. And another word that comes to mind is transitional skills. Okay, so it might be that, say you want to work as a hands-on healer, say you're passionate about that, but the way you earn money is that you provide a service. Like you might actually do gardening, or you might do cleaning, or you might do consulting or something like that. The transitional skill there obviously is transitional skills, you know, is what you need to kind of harness in on and go, well, I'm going to utilize, I can actually do that healing because I have these transitional skills. Okay, that was a bit of a side point, but this is dance, and yeah, so it's basically a bit of a dance for you to just find out how you can combine your spiritual soul purpose into your what you want to do and why you want to do it. Like, it needs to be a deep reason, not a money reason only, if possible. Obviously you might have to do a little bit of money stuff only reason for a bit, but you might, if you can start to activate this as well, even, that's awesome. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now, lower 3D is the higher self. So we had that little balance there. Now this is the higher self. Oh my God. abundance. The higher self is a very abundant thing. It's not just, see, the thing is, the psyche, it starts off, the higher self starts off being this little, almost like a little 5-cent piece that you kind of think of. It's like, where the hell is it? I don't know how to get to that, right? But just keep in mind that if you're lower 3D, your higher self is a source of abundance, okay? Now, this one says, I can deliberately choose to feel better now. Isn't that appropriately linked to abundance? Okay? Because if you feel better, you feel more abundant. Okay? And the other thing that they're suggesting here is that there's this word here, choose. So that is a choice. Now, there'll be people in low 3D that would say, well, that's a crock of shit. I have no friggin' choice in the matter here in my life. I have no friggin' choice. I'm stuck with what I'm stuck with. Right, well, you might not be able to change the externals, okay? But believe it or not, you actually have within you a higher self, and you do actually have the power to change your own state of mind. That's the only thing you've got control over in reality. You might even feel like you don't have control of your mind. Well, that's a serious case for doing some meditation, doing some of this that we had at the start. Okay? You know, I can choose to go from feeling bad to feeling good. I can pivot. So that's saying you can actually do that. And that it's also abundant to even hold that view as a possibility. I mean, you're in a more abundant state if you can sort of contemplate and go, well, yeah, I guess there are things that I can't change that's going on around me, but I guess in some way, if I did have some sort of a mastery and I had kind of some degree of mindfulness, and if I knew what to do, what strategies to apply to myself, my mind, that I could perhaps change that a bit. It's obviously not a case of, if you're in a completely dire situation, that you're going to go from that to bliss in 0.5 seconds. Okay, what I'm saying is that it's about feeling better. Okay? So this is the thing, slowly, gently. But you're on the path to abundance if you can start to develop these fantastic skills. And this is a suggestion I'm going to say again, is guided meditations, guided relaxation meditations that you tap into your inner light. Okay, because all of us are beings of light, this is the higher self pairing. Meditations that help you tap into that the white light coming in, but also that you have a light in your heart center. Okay, that's literally your the light body, because it projects from there. Okay. And if you can tap into that, but realistically, the way that it worked with me was that I think initially, and it's, you can either perceive it as an external source or coming from your heart, or from both. Because if you're feeling really damaged in your heart space, it's probably easier to perceive it initially as a source light, as a healing light that's coming down, which is completely valid. That is completely valid, because that's there anyway. It's always there. Even if you sense you activating this, usually it comes from source. You sense it coming from source first. If you have a damaged heart space, that the visualization of the white light coming in will help. Okay. There are lots of other ways that you can listen to music that takes you into like some self-love music on YouTube that takes you into a beautiful space. You can even start daydreaming and go into a visualization of a beautiful scene, which might end up being maybe a past life that you had. But I kid you not, if you're in a dark, a really difficult situation, if you can get some time to yourself that you won't be disturbed, which is kind of paramount, you need to, if you call on like spirit guides from Sirius A, okay, they will help you to get through some really tough stuff. Like, if you're dealing with grief, death, things like that, they're just amazing, right? Now, this is the abundant thing about the soul, is that it's not just, the soul is like, in some ways, the soul is both serious stuff and it's also joyful stuff. Okay, so the thing is, the soul has a lot of depth. Okay, we're talking about higher self is the soul. Okay, the higher self soul has a lot of depth. There's a lot of honoring that goes on with suffering. Okay, and there's a lot of forgiveness that needs to go on with suffering, that needs to happen for people that are in suffering. Okay, and obviously compassion, unconditional love, no matter what you're suffering, even no matter what you've done. Okay, there is unconditional love for you. And the thing is, even if you've done some bad shit, right, that unconditional love has the power to turn that around inside of you. Okay, because if you start tapping into, okay, no matter what shit I've done, if I still have a light and there's unconditional love there, it's like, well, that's friggin' amazing. Like, that's abundance. Okay, and this is the stuff that we need to really tap into. Obviously, grief is a really hard one because there's lots of different emotions going around with that. Okay, but really, if you put some beautiful soft music on, even if you put soft music on and you start to bawl, even if you start to cry, okay, it's kind of better out than in, because if you keep your grief repressed, okay, it won't sort of allow you to release that. Okay, this is why grief takes a while to process. Okay, a friend of mine, I think she sort of had, ongoing crying for weeks or months or something. Okay, I understand that it's complex, right? And everyone has different. This is the other thing about abundance, is that everyone's beautifully unique. Okay, I mean, that's even something to meditate on. It's just the uniqueness of all our individual selves, all of our individual souls. It's just amazing. Like, there are no two people that are exactly the same. That in itself is incredible. But the other thing you might want to look into here is spirit. See, this is source. That's actually a spiral as well. Okay, so source. Look into, if you are dealing with death or people you know have died, look into your belief system about what happens to people when they die. Okay, because sometimes belief systems and spiritual ways of looking at that can actually really help with comfort. It doesn't alleviate grief completely, but it can actually help you to feel a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, the other thing about this one here, abundance, see, that's a little Joey, so it's like a new life. Okay, and that kangaroo, they jump around in Australia. I'm actually from Australia. I'm in Australia now. They jump around, and they're really beautiful animals. They're very peaceful. Like, we've got a park. I've got a park not that far from here. They just lie under the gum trees. they're really beautiful. And we have walking tracks not far from them, and they live sort of like close to us. Okay. So they're really beautiful. And yeah, it's a grey kangaroo. Yeah, so the other thing to keep in mind is that if you can do this, if you can start choosing to feel better, and you can do that, you can feel better by doing those strategies and things. You will probably feel like it's a bit of a new life for you, because once you start to realise that I can choose how I feel, or I've got these strategies in place. If I feel my feelings go down to X point, I know that I've got to do something, and I know what I need to do. Okay, colour, sound, creativity, doing something creative, all that helps. Okay, yeah, and words of encouragement from people too. That's awesome. Oh my God, 46 minutes. But that's okay. This is really to help people with the heavies today. Right, so that was the lower 3D, and it seemed to be all about trying to consciously realise and accept that it is possible for you to change your mindset, okay, which will make you feel better physically. And you can certainly do physical things to help you feel better, okay? And it's also about respecting your heart, okay? And finding out your big why, like if you want to do a particular thing in life, that's, it's like why, what's the reason? Like to earn money doing a particular thing, and try and put a little bit of spiritual reason in there, or a bit of soul purpose reason as to why you're doing that particular thing to obtain some income. It's going to be better in the long run. It'll be more meaningful, and you'll be able to sustain it. It's literally a sustainable practice to do that, okay? Even though there might be people telling you to not. You've really got to do this thing here, respect your own desire. Okay, it's respect your heart. Another thing too about that is, look after yourself, hold space for yourself. If you do have to go through some grief stuff, respect that need and give yourself time out, and put on some music and just have a cry. Okay. Be body for the mid-third dimension. Okay, so this is what the mid-third dimensional people are we doing physically. Okay. And certainly the people that are in the lower moving up. Okay, so we've got dowry. So that's preparation. So it's preparing. There's some physical preparation. Okay, and this one says, I can pivot under any and all conditions. Wow, we've had a lot of this, haven't we? Pivot. And look at these birds. So the thing it's just saying to me now symbolically, we've got birds again, and it's kind of saying that birds are the higher consciousness animals here, and they are actually helping us with our own, they're raising their frequency, and they're really assisting us. So if you can go out in nature and look at some birds, it will help you, or even just contemplating them, really. And the other consciousness that galactically speaking is like blue avians. Okay, because they're literally like a bird race, but I believe they can probably change. They change form as well. But this is actually like a blue bird here. It's a blue avian. Okay. So if you want to do meditations like high frequency meditations and asking galactic consciousness for assistance, blue avians, good. Okay, they're really lovely. They're really joyful and blissful. They're big on community and helping each other, and very supportive, loving and caring. Okay, so this dowry, so it's preparing and gathering, and it's almost like gathering your strategies together, so that you become a little bit more practiced and more aware of how you can pivot on your feelings. So that's literally like, see, that's like a white dove again. So we have the blue, and that's almost an indigo colour, which is sort of like the, it's that intuition chakra. So physically, you might want to start doing a little bit of chakra work if you can. Right, and this is the intuition one. So you'll intuitively kind of know, once you start gathering stuff, you'll kind of intuitively know what you need to do in order to, pivot on your feelings, which means going from feeling worse to feeling better. That's kind of what they're talking about. Now, physically, isn't that interesting how that whole bird is on that pivot? It's not just about mind now, which was kind of previously, like this one sort of looks like it's about mind, even though there are pictures of the whole body in there. But it's sort of even saying here, utilize the body to help you to pivot, to help you to feel better. So that might be stretching, doing some yoga, some tai chi. Okay, yoga is really beautiful for kind of developing your intuition. You can do some full body lying on the ground, do a bit of stretching, and then do some chakra meditations while you're lying down. Go on YouTube, right? So this is interesting here. It's like a triangle shape, and it's sort of got levels. Okay, so it's sort of like, as we go up the levels, we're kind of accumulating more, and I think we get to the top level. Okay, you've obviously accumulated more strategies and skills, obviously mind skills as well as physical skills. And you might even, and your emotions will come into that. You might even have some emotional skills that you use. Okay. Now, there's probably lots of different types of strategies and little things that you can do. Like you could do a meditation course, you could do a mindfulness thing, you could do just that. Creativity is a beautiful outlet as well, and plus it's quite physical. So really, if you kind of want to, if you're very in your head, okay, and you're just feeling like you don't want to do any more head stuff, you don't want to do meditation or whatever, go and do something creative. Like make something, paint something, do up some furniture, do something practical, hands-on. Okay, because this is whole body coming on board to help you pivot. Okay, which is sort of like saying in the mid 3D frequency, you kind of start making that connection. And that's kind of already been said, but it's kind of reinforcing even more that if you feel better, if you feel good physically, it's going to help your mental. It's going to help your coping thing. Okay. So the other thing here is sort of talking about the link. See, this is quite a physical one. This is almost like the intuitive gathering of stuff. But it's sort of saying that when you do something physical, you sometimes endorphins can be released. Okay, and you do have physiologically, if we do something that takes us into a meditative zone or an enjoyment zone, say out in your garden or something like that, or a high frequency zone, we have chemicals that get released into the brain, which are literally our own antidepressants. Okay, they're feel-good chemicals, and that's what we can activate here. You can literally learn how to change your state of consciousness by doing something, or by focusing on, which, like what was said, doing different types of things. Okay, so that's really helpful, I think. I'm getting really dry doing this. But I'm really loving how this is quite helpful, and it's sort of reinforcing, isn't it? Because what we just said then was kind of reinforcing this one here about pivot from feeling bad to good. It's literally the same word, pivot. So it's sort of like doing and you can use your body. So it's literally, you can stand and almost symbolically move your body and literally pivot on the spot. And you could even like have different posters in your room. Obviously, if you've got a bedroom, you've got 4 different walls. Okay, you could put different colours and different representing. I mean, you could even put one there that's representing bad stuff, do an artwork and go, okay, if I look at that, that's my bad wall. But I've got these others over here. I've got 3 other walls. One of them might be, I'm feeling soft and gentle. Might be a beautiful soft and gentle painting. And then on the other wall, you could put one that's sort of like peaceful and green and nature connection. Okay, I'm going to get nature connection. The other wall might be a big painting on, maybe about intellectual stuff. Or it might be people or something like that you're going, okay, I'm going into intellectual mode. I'm going to get busy with my mind on something that I'm really interested in. Okay, that's another little hint. Now, feeling, middle 3rd dimension. Right, let's go. So this is about your emotions, in the middle 3rd dimension. Okay, so let's look at these in together. Magic. And look at that symbology. I have control over the thoughts I think. These cards are really awesome, aren't they? Because they're kind of suggesting to us that very strongly that we have, our minds are more powerful than we think. It's just a really matter of an experimentation and finding out what the strategies and skills are that we can utilize to bring them under a little bit more not control, because we don't want to repress what we're feeling and stuff like that, but we want to be able to learn to navigate our states of consciousness a little more, and so that we're not in a really harsh, difficult vibrations all the time, so we're not super stressed. Okay, because what we want to do is we want to get out of continual super stress, because that is what will make you sick, and that is what will reduce your immunity, and that is what will kind of not help you to feel good physically or emotionally or mentally. Okay, so it's all about reducing your stress. Okay, because God knows we've been under a lot of stress. Now, Raven Magic. Isn't that interesting how that is a black bird, and this little key here, that's almost like the black key. It's not a white key, it's a black key. And look, so she's literally there's a key there that she's basically going to put in the hole there, which is literally unlocking her sight. That's really unusual symbology, isn't it? But what I'm thinking is that okay, that's a black hole there unlocking, and I'm actually thinking that maybe that's what the illusion is. That, see, look at that bird's actually looking at there. It's sort of like saying, is that bird in that hole, and that's actually going to come out. So basically it's going to be, if you can unlock that, it will be like magic. So if we can unlock that thing which helps us to have control over the thoughts, I think, the thoughts we think, then that will really help us with our emotions. Because if we keep thinking the same thing, because this is on the feeling one now. So if you have repetitive negative thoughts, okay, despairing thoughts, ongoing, okay, that will put you into emotional despair and depression and sadness constantly. Okay, so this is like a little magical key here that's saying, I have control. I have control over the thoughts I think. Now, it may not feel like that at times, because you may be dealing with a lot of other people and a lot of stuff going on around you that is really stopping you from feeling good. So my suggestion in that case is, obviously people need to go through the motions every day and deal with what they need to deal with, but at the end of the day, if you can really give yourself permission to just go, you know what, that was a day and a half, I really deserve some me time now, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually go in my room, and you might need to do this a few times a day if you're dealing with a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to relax. and I'm just going to really focus on, either with music, doing something art, creative, some journal writing, actually probably not writing so much, but something symbolic and colour or sound. Okay, I'm really going to focus on my breath. I might even do some dancing. I might do some pivoting and just kind of get myself into this pivot thing. And I'm going to, slowly but surely, I'm going to move myself from a state where I'm focused on externals into a state where I'm focused on the light that is within me, of the soul that I am, of the abundance that I am. And I'm going to shift my state of consciousness into one of positive abundance, and it is going to be magical. So we are talking about, it's almost like an emotional shape-shifting that we are going to have to be doing, and that is magical. If we can shape-shift our thoughts, then our feelings will shape-shift with us. Okay. And that is key, because if you're dealing with a lot of heavy externals, I would not suggest doing in-depth exploration work that brings up all of your unconscious insecurities and stuff that happened in your past that you don't want to look at and stuff like that. If you're dealing with heavies, do not overload yourself. Gentleness and love needs to be accommodated here. Self-care. Okay, time out for self, please. If you can, do that. It'll be really helpful. And if you can't get time for yourself, you might have to do things like, if you go to the toilet, you might have to have some buddies on, and you might have to, put some relaxation music in there and just, do a quick meditation. Or if you can get out and do a walk, 15 minutes, that might help. Or if you've got a back garden, because I get that, if people are in lockdown, if you've got a back garden where you've got a block of some lawn or some trees or something, go and sit under a tree. Do some research on YouTube. Another thing that can be really interesting is to just go into your own spirituality. Just go, I'm just going to do a past life regression, or I'm going to do a relaxation meditation, or I've got to look into galactic consciousness and stuff like that. Because the other thing too is, if you can start to perceive that, and this is almost like a magical thing too, that there is life in higher frequencies, and that you do have assistance, in that way, you can actually ask for healing. So you can actually be lying down, like even if you're in your bed at night before you go to sleep, and just say, if there are any light beings, Arcturians are really beautiful for this. You can even just request a healing from Arcturians. Okay. Anyway, so that's another strategy that you can put in there. I believe Syrians do healings as well, and Blue Avians, Andromedans might even too. Pretty sure. But I know Arcturians have been working very closely. Like some of them are in like 6D, so they're not, and they can probably also move into 5D, obviously. But they're just been really helpful for humanity. Okay, Pleiadians too, I think. Now, so that again is saying that if we can, activate even that recognition that we can control our thoughts. Some people have to work really, really hard on this to get it to work, but it can be done. Okay. Yeah. And the other thing is too, this magic here. See, birds are very high consciousness. How many birds have we had here, folks? Like just about every card I've pulled up, there's been a bird. Oh, we had a kangaroo. We've had a brolga. We've had a cassowary. We've had the cockatoo, and we've had the bowerbird. Like, this is insane. Like, thank you, Spirit. And they're sort of saying that there's higher consciousness assistance for us. Okay, even just meditating on that. You can do research on YouTube about galactic consciousnesses, and that could be actually really helpful. Okay, so that's that one. Now, I wonder if we're going to pull a bird up. We're on to the thinking part. See, that was almost thinking, wasn't it? But it's sort of saying that if you can change your thoughts, your feelings will move along with that. Okay? Now, we have another bird, folks. Oh my God. This is like just incredible. I think it's going to be all the birds in the Animal Dreaming Oracle. I can't believe it. So this is law. Wow. So that's like rules, regulations, stipulations, okay. And this is to do with the mental and intellectual of the third dimension. Whatever I desire, I can acquire. Wow. Look at that. That crow looks very much like the raven we just had, another black bird. Okay, it's looking straight at that flower, at that person there. Law. So it's kind of saying that even if all your dreams aren't coming true at the moment, if you can keep moving forward and keep doing these strategies and skills we've suggested, learning how to pivot, learning how to change your state of consciousness, changing your thoughts, which will change your mental, your feelings, okay, you can desire anything that you can acquire, anything that you desire. But you need to respect that in your heart space. You know, we had these two cards together, the respect, you know, of the heart. But this is saying that it's about the thinking. So it's almost about it's almost like you've really got to it's sort of saying people really have to lay down the law with themselves. They've really got to set themselves some rules, some regulations, and their own personal laws in a way. Okay, because set your own like moral compass. Because this could also be referring to universal law, natural law, cosmic law, earth law, the law of love. Excuse me. Okay. There's lots of different laws, but guess what? You have your own law. And this card we've had before is also that leading into higher self. So if you can get a bigger concept of what your soul is and what you're here for, what in the big picture, okay, that will help you to manifest this. Because basically, as soon as you can step into something where you feel like you are here to assist others, okay, you can do that, because guess what? Everyone's surrounded by other people. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that at the moment, a lot of the people that have been incarnated that are like, star seeds. Basically, the name of the game, folks, at the moment is healing. We are healing the earth. We are healing all of the dysfunction that's been going on. We are healing our souls. Okay, so essentially, I'm almost going to say, basically, the law is actually that there's healing going on. Okay, that in order to raise up frequency, that's a huge healing process. Okay, and the earth is raising in frequency anyway. It's going up to fifth dimension. And guess what? Us as humans, we're raising in frequency with it. And the animals are raising in frequency with it. And the thing here is that the birds, they're very high frequency. They could well be already in 5D. Right? So in some ways, you know, they're really beautiful little allies for us to have around and to contemplate. Because in actual fact, it may be better to be a bird right now than it is to be a human. They can fly anywhere at any time, pretty much, providing the weather's okay. Now, so, isn't that interesting? This plant here, which purely symbolically, that's about growth. And also nature, like a natural growth. Okay, so they're not saying that overnight you can acquire what you desire. They're saying that there's patience required, because if you plant a seed, it takes time to grow. But you must plant a seed. So you need to find out this here. You know, we've just had this card. What do I want and why do I want it? Which is leading into the soul. Okay, even if all you want is to feel better, I can deliberately choose to feel better now. Even if you just want to feel better, if that is your heart's desire, you can achieve that. Okay, and that is law, because it's sort of saying, you know what, the law of the heart, really, I think that's what it is. Basically, if your heart wants something enough, it is achievable, because as humans, we are actually beings of light. We are powerful sovereign beings, and if we tap into what our heart wants, we can acquire that for ourselves and for others. So if we feel better, that's going to be for our highest good, and it's also going to be for the highest good of all, for others, because we would probably naturally, ultimately, end up assisting other people to do that. You know, and I think this is the other thing too, that the other thing that's message that's coming through the cards. Sometimes when I get chills, I kind of feel like Spirit's really behind me when I say this. That it's all about, if you're in lower 3D, it's all, and mid 3D, it's all about learning how to help yourself to feel better. Okay, physically, emotionally, intellectually and mentally, and also to feel more connection to your higher self. Because if you feel more connection to your higher self, you will feel better mentally, emotionally and physically. It's all connected in. This has been an hour, folks. This is really long. But you know, I just really I'm so glad, and Spirit actually directed me to use these cards. Like, I didn't even know this was going to happen, but I think it's really helpful. So it's just really reinforcing that you have inside you the law of the heart, which is a universal law. It is a galactic law. It is a cosmic law, okay? We are in the cosmos. The law is that the heart is the most powerful thing. Even though you might feel that everything is coming in on top of you, that you feel like you have no way out, and all the rest of it. Tap into your eternal light spirit source that is in your heart, that is also outside of you and within you at the same time, and is also within everyone else, and you are part of a unity consciousness. Don't ever forget that, because you are loved more than you, well, hopefully you will realize how much you are loved ultimately. Because I'm even going to go so far as to say that the law of the heart is almost like the law of spirit. It's like a law of spirit. Is that even when people die, their eternal spirit actually goes into higher frequency realms. So their being, they still have a beingness. Okay, it might not be in human form, or it might be a combination of human form and some other form, but they still have a beautiful beingness and a beautiful soul, And however they're evolving in those higher frequencies is how they're evolving. Okay, some people come back down to earth again, right, and others stay up there. It's free will. It's a matter of choice. Okay, and also probably in accordance with other laws too that happen in the high frequencies that we're not aware of at this point on 3D. So, tap into your eternal self. You are an eternal sovereign being of light. Okay? And that is law. It's the law of the heart. It's not just about, whatever I desire, I acquire. It's not about, you desiring the bloke down the street or the woman around the corner, and I can acquire them. That is not what we are talking about. It's not even that much that we're talking about. We desire that big house or that fast car. But in principle, if that's your true heart desire, as materialistic as that is, if you put all of your energy into that, I suppose it's achievable. But they're kind of trying to say here that the heart, if it's allowed to kind of grow, the growth of the heart space, okay, is the thing. Now, and the law part of it is that mental thinking, that if you start to think that you are at one with the law of the heart and the law of unconditional love and the universal order of things, that will help. Now, higher self of the 3D. Now, this kind of, the law kind of leads into the higher self, doesn't it? Because it's talking about the law of the heart, right? Now, this beautiful little card we had before, progression. I really love that one because it's so soft and gentle. Okay, and it's almost like a card of patience, isn't it? It's like saying to higher self, you will make progress into your awareness of that. Okay, it will become apparent to you that you do have a higher self and that you can sense that. And then ultimately you will step into the thing where you're going, I am my higher self. That's a big shift when that happens. Now, right, I am the creator of my own life experience. Now, I realise there'll be a lot of people out there that disagree with that, because they might be, well, I'm a victim here. I can't do anything. I cannot move. I understand what you're saying there. But the interesting thing there is that those plants, initially, at the moment they kind of look like tears, don't they? But they're actually branches with leaves, stems, and they're actually growing up from here. So it's actually like growth again. And it's actually saying that so basically the eyes or the seeing, that it's very joined. It's joined to the manifestation of what's going on outside of the physical body. So it's saying the creator of the reality of the life experience. Okay. It's actually really soft. So it's like a higher self. It's definitely a higher self view to say that, to the realization that they're a creator. And that also is related to what we've been talking about, because if you are in a certain state of consciousness, say you're having a lot of negative thoughts, okay, and you perpetuate them, and you don't have strategies to shift yourself into a better feeling state, basically in an unconscious way, you are creating that continual negation, the negative thoughts. You're continually creating that, but you're not aware that you're creating it. Okay, so what it's sort of saying here is it's another reinforcement to sort of say that we can create another whole feeling and another whole way of looking at our situation and another whole way of dealing with it. I'm drawing, I don't know, Mother Teresa's just come into my mind. I think I'll just be asking to look at that because, obviously she was dealing in really poor areas in the world, and but she was doing proactive things to assist that. Now, she could have been, obviously she's a very spiritual woman, okay, so she's tapping into the higher self, okay, because if she wasn't spiritual, say for instance, or she didn't perceive herself as someone that could create hope or create caring or create love in a dire situation, if she withdrew, if she didn't have that view, in other words, if she didn't have this creative view, right, she would be perhaps just withdraw into a little hut and just fall on the ground in a heap and just go, you know what, I can't cope with this, I feel like I'm going to die. I think she worked for quite a few years, worked a lot of years helping really poor people that were in starving situations, and probably had a lot of health issues going on as well in those communities. But the other beautiful thing with this is that it's kind of saying that progression, so it's gentle, consistent effort, will help you to feel like you're a creator of your reality, okay? Start you to feel that you can create a different way of being for yourself, even if, because basically you could literally do a Mother Teresa, oh my God, doesn't that look like her? Because she's sort of got this is almost like a it's almost like a spiritual, it's sort of quite spiritual there. It's almost like, but see, it's almost like not a nun's thing, but it's sort of like that, like a monk kind of hairdo. I mean, there's no fancy hairdo there. It's pretty much bald. Really like a number one, like a 0.5 of a haircut. Yeah, I think there is hair there. But that's like a really spiritual kind of face. And that just does remind me of Mother Teresa. And at the moment, this is the stuff that we're dealing with pandemic and COVID, is a little bit like, we need a lot of Mother Teresas around, and I get there probably already are thousands of Mother Teresas out there and Father Teresas, if I can say that. Like, it's not in good taste to joke about it, but we could say Mother Teresa and Father Thomas, or something like that. But literally, if in those dire situations people are operating as those people, they are having a creator consciousness. And you know what? Even if you've got, say for instance, in some countries where they used to have lots of wars, right? People used to go around and do art and craft with, say, kids that have been suffering from trauma. Right? Now, if you can get some creativity happening, and get even young people or adults or anyone to kind of express their trauma out on paper, and then they might, because emotionally it's expressed out. It's better expressed out than held within. So if they can express it out, you might then want to do a ritual. People might want to keep their artwork, but you could say, well, people that want to burn it or rip it up or whatever can come over here and do that, because then it could all get burned and transmuted up, changed into a different form, transmuted symbolically, and that could be an interesting ritual to do. And that would be like a creator, because you're literally creating in people a shape-shifting mechanism. But not only that, it's you're giving them an opportunity to release their trauma emotionally and symbolically and visually, and then you're giving them the opportunity to go through a ritual to basically transmute that into a different form. You might even not have to destroy it. You might want to turn all of that into something beautiful in some way, shape or form, because then it becomes transformed into a work of art. Okay, we had transformation the other day, but this is transformative work that creators are needing to do. We're literally going to have to transform fear, sadness, grief. We're going to be transforming it, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's progression, but it's almost like a higher self. This is the higher self card in the mid third dimension, but it's saying gradually do something that steps you into that proactive creator feeling, which is your higher self, which is a higher self. It's a very honourable higher purpose. Is the higher self. Okay, now upper third D. Oh wow. Right, physically, and this is sort of all within the next 1 to 2 years. People are going to be starting to have to master all of this stuff now. So physically, in the upper third D, there's opportunity, okay, which is nice. And oh wow, this is like an angelic being. Look at that. That's actually a person flying, okay, and it says, my attention to unwanted attracts more unwanted. Isn't that interesting? It's what we put our minds on, is what we create, and what we perpetuate, which is what we were just saying all before here. It's about learning how to pivot, but this is actually a reinforcement of saying, see, now look, so basically they're saying, if you want to go down in vibration, the way to do that, which you don't want to do, this is the opposite of what we want, but I'm saying if people want to go down in vibration, or they are going down in vibration, and they keep going down in vibration, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, if they keep going down, right, guess what's going to happen? They're going to stay down. They're not going to feel better, are they? It's not logical. But the reverse of this is also true, because even though that sounds like a negative, the opportunity that goes along with that is that the reverse is also true, which is also a law, which would be my attention to wanted attracts more wanted, or my attention to happiness and light attracts more happiness and light. Okay, so we could quite easily say that, and we could also put the card upside down, which the interesting thing was, I think when I turned it around, it was upside down. So really, it's sort of saying, if you want to raise your frequency, which goes along with the higher frequency emotions of love, compassion, forgiveness, acceptance, if you want to up your frequency, and even the thoughts, it's in positivity, creating mindset, and also obviously if you're physically doing things like trying to take in good nutrition, keeping hydrated and things like that, the more you do of that, the more it will attract. And that's the opportunity. It's the way out. And it's sort of saying that people in upper third D will be able to make this movement. They will be able to avail themselves of this opportunity that they can, that realization will bring them. Okay, because physically we've had, I can pivot, so I can change. I can use my body to change my state of mind, and I also can pivot from feeling bad to feeling good. Okay, now in the upper third D, it's actually going to start to happen. See, this is definitely an upward movement, and look at that. It's higher consciousness. It's like a bird type figure, but it's human. So it's literally a human. The angelic aspect of you starts to activate when you can really manifest this. Okay, and that's what they're saying, that in the next 1 to 2 years, people that are either moving up into upper third D or who are in third D, whatever, will be able to start to activate that. The more of higher frequency that I want, the more I think about that, the more I put my mind and my body and my feelings and my thoughts on it, the more it will happen. It's just logical, really. It's not rocket science, folks. Now, for the feelings of the upper third D, so the feelings that we're going to be either looking into or trying to produce within us, confidence. The feelings that go along with confidence are kind of, like lightness, happiness, content, a little bit of empowerment happening. So let's see what this one says. Welcome to planet Earth. You are here to seek joy. Oh my God. Sorry, I've just got chills again. That is so awesome. That is bang on the feeling. Look, welcome to planet Earth. You are here to seek joy. Right? This is upper third D. Now, if you think that you're in any of these other third dimensions, and like we said before, the name of the game is to feel better. Right? The name of the game. Feeling joy. Please do stuff, if you can, that will either make you feel better, activate your heart space to feel better, or bring you joy. And it literally might be like, you sit around at night having a card game with your family or your friends. You might be on YouTube. You might want to watch something funny, some comedy, right? You might want to, I don't know, anything that's funny that brings you joy, but not just the superficial transitory things. We're talking also about that heart thing here, right? So if you had a childhood desire about doing something, for instance, doing some artwork, playing a musical instrument, doing some singing, being in a band, doing some gardening, having a garden, that might be one thing that people want to do. They might want to, do gardening, right? But it might happen in a way that instead of sitting at home and going, well, I don't have a garden, it might be that they somehow get themselves to other people's places that do have a garden, and they start working in the gardens of other people. Or even just volunteer and help out. Because as soon as you put yourself in that environment or with those people that your heart desires in any way, shape or form, it will transform you energetically. It will start your heart resonating, okay? But look at that, joy. That's so awesome, like that's self-explanatory. Do you know what we've got here? Another bird. Like this was a bird, right? This possum here, opportunity, was in the tree, but look, that's climbed up the tree. That's the one we just had, right? And that tree, so basically some possums can actually fly. They're like little sugar glider possums, but look, it's a bird. And look what we've got here. Welcome to planet Earth. You are here to seek joy. Look, and look at that. See how she's holding that bird? It's like she was holding it and it flew. Okay, now isn't that beautiful? It's like we are all holding that. It's almost like that's flown out of her heart. We're all holding that white light bird within our heart, metaphorically speaking, and and that is like our eternal higher self, soul, that's the white light source, divine love light consciousness, and joy and bliss. Okay? We all have that within us, that capacity. But if you tap into the white light meditation, that will help you to kind of feel better. And confidence. So obviously, if we're starting to feel this, we're going to be feeling better, feeling a bit more confident about our ability to master our emotions. Okay? Yep. Let's go to the next one. Thinking. Now, I have been taking these out of the right spot, so that was there. Okay, now this one. Oh my God, this is interesting. I haven't seen him before. Purification, or her, could be a female Tasmanian devil. Purification is also cleansing. It's also releasing of unwanted stuff, which we just put, which this was also about unwanted. But we need to release the unwanted thoughts. But it is going to happen because it's saying that it's a purification. Okay, so people will learn to, start to focus their minds and their mental capacities on more positive, high frequency things, ways of being, ways of thinking, ways of feeling. Okay, now this one. Wow. Oh my God. The law of attraction adds power to both problems and solutions. Isn't that interesting? Look at that symbology there. That, when I saw this initially, I thought that's almost like a purification, because it's almost like the negative thoughts are going out, which is the black, and the positive ones are coming in. It almost looks like a purification, doesn't it? But it's actually saying that the law of attraction adds power to both problems and solutions. And you know what? This is just a reinforcement of this one here, which was basically saying whatever you focus on, if you focus on the problems, you will just get more problems. If you focus on solutions, the raising up of frequency, you will get solutions. Okay? This is a reinforcement again of that, to do with your thinking. So it's saying you will attract, if your thoughts are all on about problems, you will attract problems. If your thoughts are focused on solutions to those problems, you will attract solutions to those problems. Okay? And the purification, obviously, is that side of things where we are trying to not focus on creating more problems, where we're actually focusing on creating solutions, which is what we want, right? We want solutions for ourselves, for others, and, for humanity in general, for the planet. Okay? And that might be a solution. The solution might even be something as simple as, the problem might be, say for instance, I feel like crap and I don't know how to shift that at all. The solution might be, over time, you apply your mind in to find out how you can shift that, and then you discover ways to do that, and the solution is that, wow, I can actually shift, I can feel better now, I know how to do that, and I'm really going to keep running with that idea. I'm going to keep applying that, and I'm even going to get some more strategies on board. So if I'm in different sorts of situations or I'm feeling in different ways, I can use different things to help myself to feel better. Okay, and that's solution focused, isn't it? Okay, so that's the, so even while there's some of this is going on still, there'll be some people that keep focusing on the problems. There'll be other people that are focused on solutions. Okay, but ultimately the purification is that we want to be focusing on solutions. And that's where the people, well, I think this card is kind of saying that the shift will be that there will be more solution-focused stuff happening. Perhaps in the next 1 to 2 years, there'll be a lot more solution stuff happening. Rather than, initially it's like probably we're all still in a bit of shock and we're all kind of throwing our hands up in the air going, what the? It's just really horrible. Right, we don't know what to do, but there will be help. Okay, there will be solutions. Thank God. Now, the higher self for upper third D. Oh my God, only 2 hours. Let's hit it. Right, we didn't have a bird there. We had the Tasmanian devil, which is a very grounded animal. But that also, sorry, I can't resist that. I need to just say that the purification is going to be happening on the ground. So I get the feeling that it's going to be very earth-based, practical, solution-focused things that are going to be happening. Okay, for humanity and for the earth. Right, that's what we need to say, because see, there's birds here. We've still got higher frequency, right, as well. Now, the last one, higher self for the upper third D. It's a bird. Concealment. Wow. Okay. The physical me is materialized spirit. Okay, let's contemplate this one. So that the physical me is materialized spirit. Isn't that interesting? So it's kind of saying that in some ways that the spiritual aspect has kind of been concealed in a form of the physical. So they're saying there's a very strong link between the physical and the spiritual. And that's the thing, the higher self, we cannot get away from the fact that we are needing to deal with the fact that even though we're spiritual, we have an eternal essence, that we are here in physical form, right, to evolve. Now, we're not going to evolve by just keeping that mind and that body separate. The mind and the body actually need to come together in peace, harmony and balance. That means no more warring between mind and body. That means no more sabotage of the body or sabotage of the mind. Or sabotage of the soul, sabotage of the higher self. We don't want any of that. We don't want sabotage of our heart. Okay, and when something's sabotaged, it is concealed. Okay, we don't want any of that to be concealed, really. So the fact that the concealment is there, I think it's more like saying, if in upper third D you feel like your spiritual higher self is not quite evident to you, that's actually okay, because there might be it could just be like gathering energy, or it could just be that you are it's really bad coughing, sorry, you're going through some internal processing, with your mind body kind of it's a little term called like an invisible war. If you've got an invisible war going on between your mind and your body, and you need to work through, it might be a little while before your higher self, that becomes more apparent to you. Okay. Because I think it's also saying that doing this work, this purification ground hands-on, it might just be a case too, if you're in the 3rd D, that the higher self full expansion might just be put on hold a little bit. So maybe in a year or two, it might be that people in 3rd D, it might just be that their spiritual evolution is being might be a little bit slowed because they're dealing with a lot of heavy 3rd dimensional frequencies. But it's not to say it's not going to happen. It's just saying there's a period of concealment, and sometimes that's necessary. And also, sometimes in order to deal with practical stuff, if it's obviously higher self-driven, then it's not, you're not concealing it. But if you are just in super practical mode, and you are just basically dealing with disaster all around you, okay, you might kind of feel like your higher self is just sort of in the background, and that's okay. Okay. But it's also that realization of really the physical. So basically that thing about materialization of spirit into form. Okay, and it's also that other thing about the dematerialization of form back into spirit. Okay, and I think this card is also alluding to the fact that people are going to start realizing that conceptually, it's because it's sort of concealed as a potential, but they're going to start. They won't be able to manifest this in upper 3rd D, but they're going to start to realize that there is a possibility there, or maybe they will see it happen, or they will witness it, of people in higher frequencies, like in 5th D and up, that are, or even other beings that are materializing from higher frequency into a 3rd D, and also from that 3rd D or 4th D, people are then dematerializing into spirit high frequency. So I think in the 3rd D, upper 3rd D person, their ability to do this is concealed, but it's still held in a potential. Okay, but see, this is, I understand this now. It's see, that's the physical, and this is the spirit. So it's like being able to shift between the two. Okay, and the see, the interesting, I think, how that's a bird too. It's a higher consciousness. Okay, and that also this is where the mind-body connection is at. This is what we need to. This is the purification, which can also here be just immediately before it. Could also be referring to physical purification. Okay, not only the planet and other things going on, but also within a person, it's their own physical purification. And so because when that happens, this is more possible. But I think that's really fascinating how that is together, and I see that how that's relevant, because an upper 3rd D person is not yet of a high enough frequency to be able to do this. Okay, but they may start witnessing it happen. Okay, just because you can't do this doesn't mean you can't see it happen. Okay. So I think that's what's going to happen. And also when that happens, they see other beings or other people doing that, that will then also shift their, it'll shift their whole energetic being and their whole mindset as to what is actually going to be possible. Because they will probably be told that they have that potential within them as well. Okay, and that they will be shifting into that, being able to transform from spirit into physical. And that's really interesting, isn't it? I haven't seen that one. That's amazing that came up in higher self. Physical is materialized spirit. And that's my interpretation, is that in the upper dimensions, they can go up and down dimensions, believe it or not. 1 minute 50, 100, 1 hour and 50 minutes. Okay, it's almost Christmas time. All right, well, I hope that's been helpful. So this has been the spread for the lower, middle and upper third dimensional frequency for the next 1 to 2 years. So, between now and, for the next 2 years. This sort of stuff, if people can kind of start to look at it. Obviously, if you've got this video, you can replay it if you need to. And I guess if you have any comments, leave them below. It'll be fine. Awesome. I'm open to feedback. I realise this video is probably way too long for the average viewer. And if you stuck through to the end, well, I wish I could give you a medal for your patience. But yeah, hopefully this has been helpful. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, so basically these were the cards I used. I'll just show you the boxes again really quickly. So it's the Law of Attraction cards. Okay, and they're all on a very similar theme about, empowerment and freedom and working towards your own, your own heart space. In terms of abundance. And this is Scott Alexander King Animal Dreaming cards, which are really lovely. I just can't get over, do you know how many birds we had there? They are very high consciousness animals. We literally had there was a possum, a Tasmanian devil, and a that was the only, we had a wallaby and a kangaroo, didn't we? We had a wallaby and a kangaroo. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.